losing this love and losing this life that I loved was the hardest thing I did in my life. And it started a huge collapse of my personality. And we're actually speaking now when there is war and there is no one to hug me, which is unheard of. How in this world could you possibly live without a hug? And the answer is, I hug myself.
Welcome to What Came After. I'm your host, Manya Marcus. On What Came After, we'll take a look at the many ways people's lives have changed since the brutal massacre in Israel on October 7th, 2023. We'll be speaking to people around the world to learn how this profound moment in Jewish and global history continues to shift, shape, and change them. To learn more, please visit us at whatcameafter.com. Okay, so this is wartime podcasting, by which I mean we might have 1.5 minutes, we might have 10, we might have infinite. So let's get started. I am here in Rehovot, Israel, with just a very charismatic and lovely person. I would love for you to introduce yourself, tell us where we are and who you are.
Okay, so welcome. I'm Orit Gidali. I'm a poet and I'm a picture book writer. And I also teach creative writing. And you just happened to call me half an hour ago and ask me whether I'd like to speak in front of a mic. So all of this is like a surprise party in the middle of a war. So thank you. Thank you. I wasn't expecting these.
I like to think of myself as the bringer of surprise parties in this war. I think that's something that can go on my card. So you are a poet, you are a children's book author, and we are in your home here, which is just really light and airy and gorgeous. There's something strange about it, which is that there's so much glass, and right now glass is intimidating to me. Is there anything that you want to say about all this beautiful light and air and sun and how it actually poses a threat right now?
Well, I'll keep you slightly more on the edge and tell you that last war we did have a missile hitting the street, so 2 of our windows broke. So this renovated house has faith. And that's what's holding the glass in its place. But it is a dangerous situation. I was actually secretly taking pictures of the house. So in case it collapses, I have proof for the children that we once lived in a beautiful, beautiful house. And what I do inside is lament the possibility of destruction. And what I do outside is that I remind me and my children that we could always make a beautiful house wherever we are. Always. And I actually find myself planning how to make a beautiful house after my house is devastated, after it's ruined down. I have actually an action plan of how to bring plants and grow them with a little bit of money. And so I actually calculate for disaster with my tools of beauty. So thank you for asking such a non-important question, actually exposing the important mechanism of emotional survival and beauty survival.
I think it is a really important question, and I'm really interested in your answer. And now I'm looking at my phone.
We need to go down to the shelter.
Now we're going to pause.
Beauty ends.
Beauty ends for a moment. Okay, so I think we were just talking about, sort of funny because we were interrupted by a red alert siren that missiles were probably headed in this direction. And we were talking about always envisioning what can sprout after destruction, right? That's a set point that you have. And I wanted to just read first line of this poem, Cranes, that I read just in the 30 minutes that I had between knowing we were going to meet and meeting you. And it said, she's hiking with her husband in the Hula Reserve. The children have run ahead. She observes the cranes. She says, when I am a bird, I will die in mid-flight. He laughs in response. She doesn't know that he has another woman. She thinks it is his way of saying, my dear, I'd recommend not ever dying. So there's a lot going on in this, in these first lines, which we will get to. But I thought that this idea of understanding when you're going to die and hoping that it's mid-flight might correspond to this concept of understanding destruction and rebirth. And so I'm just wondering if you can speak more about that and start to tell me what you think the role of a poet and a writer is in the middle of a very long war.
So I think that the terminology post-traumatic growth is kind of misleading. It's in the midst of the trauma that you grow. It's not in the post of it. It's when you stand the fire. Okay? So a poet is somebody really accustomed to standing in the fire, because we, for a living, what we do is that we traffic very intense emotions and we transform them into words, which is in itself a weird concept, but we practice fire. So, in a way, when personal and national trauma hits, we have prepared our vessel to very high intensities and we lose our balance last. So it's kind of useful to be a poet, which is surprising because my mom always said, won't you really want to write a real book for once? So it turns out that it does help in severe circumstances.
So it's really interesting that we're talking about the importance of words, right? Because a few moments ago, we were talking about my work as a psychotherapist and the limits of words and the importance of incorporating the body and the spirit and sound and not just, articulable words. What has your journey been from understanding the power of words to understanding the limits of words, either in a war or in a personal
Wow, what an
sphere?
important question. I need to breathe before I answer because I am a poet. My identity is centered around words and I am a teacher. So it's also my job to decipher and to simplify concepts for my students. So I'm really dependent in words. I really trust them and I really need them to be the bridge from hell to reality, from reality to heaven. And it turns out that what I'm asked to do now as a poet is how do you say in English? Lichpo. It's like when you don't trust God. How do you say this in English? Heresy. Is this the word?
Sure, heresy, yeah.
So it's like to be heretic, to think that words would never get me there, either from the trauma to healing or from stability to trauma in order to experience it.
I don't think heretic is the right word. You're saying that you're a disbeliever. You don't believe in words or you do believe in words?
I ended up believing in them, and it's kind of a personal tragedy for a poet and for a teacher. I was having such a personal crisis in this period of time. Personal crisis, national crisis, everything together was just too much. And my friends, they took me to the best psychologist in Israel, the most acclaimed one. And she said, what I could offer you is a slow process of rehabilitation with mostly remission, like remissia. Like you would
remission,
you would never be healed, but you would have some progress that could be relapsed.
We talk about that term with cancer, right? Like you have relapse, you have remission. Also with addiction, we talk about that. Yeah.
And as we spoke, I just told her, I'm sorry, this is not good enough. This is not good enough. If this is what words could do, words would wait for me when I come out. But I'm getting in. And what I'm doing now is actually trying to get in, which is to stay present in this acute sense of suffering and to be so stable that it could be felt and released and light could come in. So words are really important, but they're important to mediate the aftermath. The post-traumatic growth is words, but the in-trauma growth is something that has to do with listening, with standing the strong fire, and with the sublimation of light. How light moves through pain and transforms it. It's a very tribal knowledge. It's a deep, feminine battle for the spirit of humanity. As you entered my house, you actually caught me and my daughter-in-law meditating and sending love. And I was like, oh, oops, we were caught. This is so bizarre doing this simplistic thing, but what can you do? This is what we're doing, okay? We're saying we're in the midst of trauma, we're in the midst of pain, we're in the midst of uncontrollable agony and violence. And we're looking at our perpetrators, we're looking at the pain, and we're just sending love, because everyone wants to be loved. And every hole has in it the craving to be loved. So we were doing this. And as you entered, we were just asking you to join because what could you do? We can't hide anymore. The trauma is so strong and the need for healing is so strong that we need to do this.
So I actually want to talk about this meditation that we were doing. Can you share with us what the words of the meditation are?
It's an Hawaiian prayer called Ho'oponopono, which I was taught by my meditation teacher, which actually happened to come by yesterday after 2 years I haven't seen her. And she reminded me of this prayer, which is a deep, simple, not to say simplistic prayer, saying, I love you, I'm sorry, thank you. And what does it mean to say, I love you? Who exactly do you love? Probably the wounded child that we all have in common, in our common archetype. What does it mean to say, I'm sorry? I'm sorry that we have to go through this reincarnation as humans and believe all this suffering and inflict the suffering and be inflicted. And what does it mean, thank you? I thank you for letting me move from being pure light without the practice of duality into being in the practice of duality, which in Israel is in its highest intense form because we're constantly reminded. It's like memento mori on a daily basis. And it's extremely hard. I'm fighting for my life. I am fighting for my life. My daughter-in-law is fighting for her life. We're all extremely violent, extremely vulnerable, extremely fearful. This house could collapse. This life could collapse. We could all die. And this knowledge is both a wake-up call to be awake and both a way of saying, okay, we're stopping now. We're not playing again the game of competence. You're in a room with very competent women, but are you smart or what? Can you stand in this pain and not collapse? Can you still love when you're not loved?
You know, usually when I'm in Israel or I'm doing these interviews, I'm outside of the situation, right? And I'm trapped, pretty literally here. And so I think the way that I'm going to do interviews is going to shift a little bit. And I'm going to bring myself in a little bit. And I will tell you that when we were saying, I love you, I'm sorry, thank you. Yeah, for me, I was saying those words to my husband, who has been stranded with my 3 kids who are they've got challenges, right? And I was thinking, I love you for encouraging me to be on this journey. I'm sorry that I'm stuck here for so much longer than either one of us really can handle, and yet we're doing it. And thank you. Thank you for surviving, for all of us surviving. And there's something about me directing that energy at my husband, which reminded me a little bit about, I'm going to bring us to October 7th. And that was that everything that you're saying about the power of language and standing in the fire, these are things that I relate to as a therapist and even as a partner, right? Partnership is a lot of fire, right? We'll talk about that. But I remember after October 7th, I felt like a horrible partner, a vacant mother, and really a bad therapist. Because everything that I thought was that, yeah, there can be monsters inside men and men inside monsters. And it all collapsed. This idea that I love everyone and I believe there is sanctity in everyone. When I saw the videos and I heard the descriptions, I thought, I've been wrong for 20 years. And I'm wondering what your response as yourself, as a poet, as somebody who tries to generate this sort of light in fire, which is, right, was on that day and where you were and how you initially processed it.
Well, it's such a good question that I'd rather be silent for a minute. So let's just take the silence.
Yeah, take your time.
I'll try. I think that every person could be as bad as possible and as good as possible. And there is no surprise for me in this. I think that people are trying to survive. And I think that when we enter the atmosphere and become humans, which is a practicing ground, we agree to practice duality, which is the duality of good and evil. But this duality is not external to us. We're not little angels living in our protected worlds, being confronted with violence. We're both. Every action in the world in our internal world, every action of light has a correlate in dark inside us. And every action in the external world has a correlate in dark in the world. If somebody is an occupier, there'll be somebody revenging this. If somebody has been burned in ovens, they will be revenge. This it's a cycle of light and fire. And I don't think that anything in this is a conclusion about what are humans or what is the world, or even worse, what is God. I think that we all came from light and we agreed to practice in this duality. But I think that the most important thing for me to handle October the 7th is to realize that I am both. I am this pure angel that I've seen act in this reality as a teacher, as a mother, as a lover. I've seen myself performing acts of sublime beauty, but I'm also this woman that is so furious about her acts and that actually is harmful in her fury. I could, of course, be as angry as fire, okay? And I'm as angry as the perpetrators that amputated a child. I'm furious. So anger and beauty, and we're everything inside. We are this. We are this duality. This is the game. And the magic is understanding that every movement is in light is also movement in darkness, inside of us and outside of us. And when you realize this, you stop fighting reality. You just say, okay, how do I balance the system so I have inspiration from outside the system? Because the system itself could not maintain the system and could not give advice to the system, could not heal the system, could not support the system. It's a system of instability and of pain, inflicting pain. So in a way, we're all inverse pyramids, standing on our heads, waiting to fall. Whether we succeed in performing our angel-like qualities for a whole lifetime or for half a lifetime, it's just details. We need to stabilize the system. And the thing that stabilizes the system, if you have this image of an inverse pyramid, is two triangles from the right and from the left. There are mental, spiritual triangles that come from reality as it is. And reality as it is light and beauty and God. Now, we don't have access to it because we agreed to forget. But at this moment, I think that we've proved that we're a complete failure. Both Israel and the Palestinians, both the people in the world, and both me and my ex. We tried performing beauty. We tried performing life. We tried performing everything that is good and worth living for. But we were surprised by our own humanity, our own anger, our own vengeance, our own... And this surprise is so childish. Okay, let's just acknowledge, we live in a dual reality. And now what we need to do is to let go of everything we know, just to float in the air and ask to be rewired through truth, which is beyond us and is in a way in this game of humanity inaccessible to us. Yet, sometimes it does enter us. So my war in this war is to remember who I am not. I am not this dual creature. I am not this pyramid waiting to fall. My war was on a daily basis asking for help from the unknown and not thinking I know anything.
That's what you're striving to do. You strive to
on a daily
understand
basis.
you don't know.
On a daily basis, and I call it talking to God. I do it on a daily basis. I'm just trying to get inspiration from a quantic point, from a place where it's not in this dual game. And I believe it could heal. I've seen it heal. I've seen it heal me.
When I was reading your poems, I felt more grounded than I have all day because I love poetry. I love words. I think for a lot of people who are listening to this, poetry feels less accessible than it does perhaps to me, certainly to you. And so I just want to emphasize at this point that you also write children's books.
I do.
Which is the opposite. Children's books are incredibly accessible.
True.
Tell me about that. Tell me about this duality of high-level poem, children's books, which are also high-level but accessible.
I will answer.
Yeah.
And we are celebrating a new picture book that my friends, as we speak, we have wonderful, beautiful women hanging in the kitchen around us. And one of them is actually reading the book, and the other one is drawing this conversation. So we're supported by beauty, by creation. So I will speak of this book and about books in general, but I did have a ripe fruit handed to my ego, and I would like to celebrate it with you. Somebody was just texting me, I was in the shelter and there was this woman quoting your poem. And I didn't know that she knew you, and she didn't know that I know you, but the poem was Nes הפריחה גדול מנס הפרחים, which is the miracle of flowers being born is greater than the miracle of a flower. So this is kind of sums up our conversation, We're not this specific one flower in the field. We're the potential for flowers being born. And the more we catch up with this, the more we relate to this, the more we get help from the right source. You need to know who to ask. And you need to know who not to ask. In a way, the most compassionate thing we could do about reality is to mourn it and to celebrate it, but not to believe it. Not to believe it's the only source of truth. It's the only sort of possibility. We can't calculate possibilities from what we have. We could calculate possibilities only from the pure potential of love, which is from the future to us. It's a completely inverse direction. And it's really important to forget. I forgot parts of my identity for years, and I'm so proud of this, Mm-hmm. I forgot. Now, as we speak, I forget that I am divorced and that I have no love. And I thank God for this,
That you've forgotten that you have no love.
Yeah. Not a partner. And that I'm craving to have a partner, of course, because I'm meant to give love. But I forget that I don't have it so that I could live my life. And I think there is a deeper forgetting that is needed. We need to forget everything we know about power and success and love and war. And we just need to ask, what do we need to do now? What do we need to do now?
Can I tell you that I've spoken to rabbis around the world? And I say, what does this moment mean about theology? And they say, that is not important. The question is, what do we do now?
Yeah, exactly.
Tell us about your book. I would like to hear about your new book, actually. I would like to hear about
it's a fun one.
Yeah, let's hear about
it.
All
right. And so I was invited by an editor of mine to walk around the aisles of Books of Wonder. It's a whole store made for picture books in New York. I think 14th or 16th Street. And she took me over there. And just as we left the store, I cried. And then I realized I could actually do this. I could actually write picture books.
How long ago was this?
I was 40. Now I'm 52. It was 12 years ago. I never wrote picture books. And I cried. It was like my body knew ahead of me that this was my highest art. And that now when I'm 40, I'm ready for it. And the tears kept coming down. I was like, what is this? What is my body telling me? And I went back home and I started writing picture books. And then I fell in love with the genre because I think it's the most sublime one. It's the best of poetry because it's short and concise and beautifully crafted. And it's the best of prose because it has a beautiful story. And also you could laugh there and you could be a poet there and you could do whatever you want. It's like a huge playground. Mm-hmm. And it's a non-violent environment in the sense that an adult and a child, when they read a picture book, they're the same. They have the same mind, the same experience, the same entity. And light comes through them like in real, they're together for real for once. I was given inspiration from the body to the consciousness. And I started writing this and exploring this and collecting this. Now I have a huge collection of picture books and teaching it. I opened up a course for creative writing for picture books. And I actually I'm a woman in love. This is what I do in my time, like my free time. I just search American aunts reading picture books to their nephews in YouTube so that I could have access to books, because there are no books shipped to Israel, so you can't browse for books.
American aunts reading books to their nephews?
Yeah,
That's
you have
a very
this in,
specific.
yeah, but it's a whole genre. They have it in YouTube, okay? So you could actually approach the picture book and read it from the start to the end through their mouth and know which books you want to purchase.
But do you see the images?
Yeah, they pick up the book and they show it to their nephews.
they're
It's like
reading
a
it like-
whole,
yeah, it's like a story time. Okay.
story time.
Okay.
Like a family story time. So I'm an expert of American families communicating from afar. And that helps me shop for my books.
Okay.
Because I can't enter a store. There is no store for what's going on in the world with picture books, right? So I became an addict and I started writing. And the first book was actually pretty successful. It was translated into more than 10 languages. Most of them I don't know. And the most important one was Hungarian, which is my father's tongue. So my father was reading me the picture book I wrote in the language of his mother.
That's very beautiful.
Which has made me cry. And
what was it about? What was the first one about? And also, do you do the illustrations or do you have an illustrator?
No, I have the best illustrators, which became my lifetime deepest friends. Deepest friends. Because we did something so precious together. You need to actually unite your spirits in order to create a book together. The best jokes I have in my books were written by my illustrators, and the best ideas for illustrations were mine. It's always a real success when it's cross-cultural between an illustrator and a writer. You need magic in order to have a good picture book. The first picture book was about a girl reading thoughts, actually. It's called Nora the Mind Reader. It was translated by Enchanted Lion Publishing House in Brooklyn, which is the best publishing house in the whole world. And then the other books were basically dancing between poetry for children, like very poetic, very beautiful, like the book that was just now published in Austria. It's called Bravo, and it just won the Book of the Month, and it's very poetic. And the book that was just out in Israel, which is so much fun. I really have to
Tell
show
us
you
about
the
it. We won't be,
illustration.
those of us who speak English only won't be able to read it yet, but give us something to look forward to.
Well, the most important fact about it is it was illustrated by Einat Sarfati, which is a celebration of a woman. It's like meeting a carnival encapsulated in a woman.
Who is Einat Sarfati?
I really want this podcast to contain pictures because I really need to show you the book. It's just so colorful and festive and playful and crazy. She's having fun. And it's about a cowboy and a cowboy boy and a cowboy girl and the way they fell in love and the way they traveled the Midwest. And
The Midwest? This is set in America?
Yeah.
So they begin in America and they come to Israel on a horse?
Yeah, on their horses. Well, of course, they fight all the way there.
Of course. They must be Jewish. So it's cowboy, cowgirl. It's a love story. And they are a transatlantic horse riding couple.
Yeah. It's the origin story of the family. It's actually told by their child. And the symbol is hats. He has a hat and the hat complains that it's too hot. So he buys another hat for the hat. And then the hat of the hat complains that it's too hot. So he buys a crown. So he needs to now stabilize 3 hats on top of his head. And the only way he could do it is with the help of the cowboy girl, which actually controls the situation. And when he gives up, she rides to catch up with him and teaches him how 2 people could handle many, many hats. And at the end of the book, they actually do come to Israel and they form their family and their child is telling the story and everyone has their own hats. Not only cowboy hats, but actually a witch hat, world explorer hat. So everybody's free to have its own identity explored in a hat. So it's actually a book about identity, about how 2 people could make a miracle to create a place to a whole family. And the symbol is hats. And we're having a lot of fun with it. The hats keep talking, and they are actually the funniest part of my spirituality, the hats.
Can I ask you something just to kind of zigzag back and forth from light to a little heavier? This book, when did you start writing it?
I actually wrote it an unaccepted love letter to my ex.
I was going to ask what it has to do with. So, can we just introduce this fact? You were married, you no longer are. Sounds like it's been a very difficult transition.
It was.
You can say whatever you'd like about it, but how does this book fit in with the process of unraveling part of your life?
I actually fought for this love with everything I had because I held to the notion of love. And I felt it so strong in me that I couldn't understand how could it be that my reality is not manifested in the world and our reality is not, because we were in love. How could it be that there are other factors? And I think it's part of our conversation about duality. You can't have just one part of the story of light. You need to have them both, and you need to accept them both, and you need to accept that sometimes light loses and sometimes light wins. But the truth about the world is that there will always be a river of love underneath it all, underneath this game of reality. So I was really hurt by the game of reality, truly and deeply. I think it's the deepest wound of my life, to lose a man I loved to the bones. I've loved him for 25 years. It's a lot of time to love someone with every cell of my body, in complete surrender to this beauty of our mutual love. And to understand that it's not enough. This can't last. If you trust only love to protect love, you're mistaken. You need to trust both love and evil. You need to see everything. And realizing this was the hardest thing I did in my life. And losing this love and losing this life that I loved was the hardest thing I did in my life. And it started a huge collapse of my personality. And we're actually speaking now when there is war and there is no one to hug me, which is unheard of. How could you live without a hug? How in this world could you possibly live without a hug? And the answer is, I hug myself and there will be a hug. But in the middle of this, there's also mourning and pain and devastation and despair and loneliness and sadness. And also a beautiful opportunity to say, okay, love, okay, light, okay, whatever is there, okay, origin, tell me what's next. Because I have no idea. I had a complete idea. My answer was love, family, devotion. And this answer collapsed. I also had a good answer for my country: Zionism, activism, social love, social joy, and this answer collapsed. So I'm just standing about with nothing on me. It's like I'm naked in the middle of this reality. And I have no idea whether you interview me in a month from now or in a year from now, or in 5 years. I have no idea what's ahead of me. Maybe a larger disaster, maybe happiness. Probably both, because it is a world of duality. But what changed? I don't think now that I have the answers. I just know I know nothing.
Can I read an excerpt from a poem that is translated into English? First of all, Amazon is something I have spoken to many Israelis who've made yerida, meaning they've come from Israel to the United States. And when I ask them, do they think about returning? I'm not kidding. Many of them say, I cannot give up Amazon. Right? Living in America, the convenience of it. It is an amazing thing. It's a metaphor for an amazing state of being: luxury, convenience, immediacy, all these things. Anyway, it grabbed my attention that you wrote a poem that's about grief. That's called Amazon Asks Me. Can I read a little bit of it? Amazon asks me how I feel. I'm important to Amazon. Amazon wants to know me better. Amazon asks me whether I have experienced loss of faith in a partner in the past year. Loss of faith in a friend or an acquaintance also works for Amazon. Amazon only wants to help me. Amazon trusts me to tell. Amazon wants me to describe whether I've been experiencing difficulty breathing, weight gain, or recurring intrusive thoughts. Amazon shows me what other people in my situation did. Amazon knows I want to get better. Do I want clarity, improved mood, or help forgiving? Amazon loves me. Amazon is prepared to offer me more, a 3-pack of natural capsules and a meditation CD for my car. Amazon asked for my phone number. Amazon wants to call me. Amazon asked for my address. Amazon wants to stop by. Amazon asked for my credit card number. Amazon believes in my ability to pay whatever I choose. Amazon suggests that I add an ebook at checkout. 236,000 people have been victims of infidelity, and 342 of them have left a positive review. Okay, that's just the beginning of the poem, but it's
just credit the translator. I think it's Glicksman.
It's a beautiful translation because it's a beautiful poem, and it's so quirky. It's such a quirky way to describe this experience. Yeah. So I think of Amazon as this like really quintessentially American phenomenon. How did you come to that particular poem?
It's a good question. I was looking for help. I was telling my daughter-in-law sitting next to us that we're not educated to actually support our spirit. We're educated to function in the world, but I was experiencing this crisis of every layer of my identity. Every layer of my identity. And I just didn't know how to help myself because I realized that I am not experienced and I was not taught how to self-parent.
How to self-parent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how to support my inner child, but not to buy her violence, not to accept her violence towards me, to listen to her deeply and attentively without being a victim of my own hysteria or my own panic. So this is an education I was needing to get from the outside. So I started searching the web, and I actually listened to countless people recounting their story of infidelity in both YouTube and stuff like this. It was just testimonials, but it helped because it gave me education. And then the algorithm spotted me and started offering products to support the divorced lady. And I was in a way harmed by the mirror, the indifferent mirror it showed me.
That's such a good way to put it. Yeah.
You know all this of me and you don't shield me from this knowledge about myself.
I just want to pause there because I think that's so beautiful.
It's like, but this is it,
true.
You know?
The algorithm is an indifferent mirror.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then I was so shocked that this is who I am because I really didn't think I would be this woman. I thought other people divorced, not people that have wonderful love and that go to sleep hugging each other and laughing, you know? I was really sure that it's not my future. And realizing it is. And realizing I have no idea what to do because all my solutions failed. So I started asking. And then it became really funny. And I started having a relationship with Amazon, thinking, thank you for offering this. It actually might be helpful. But do you ship to Israel? And then Amazon said, no, I'm sorry, we don't ship to Israel. I go, oh, God.
That is the best part.
We went through all this and now you don't ship to my country.
Ridiculous.
So I was actually in my room.
It was courting you and it wouldn't even show up to the date.
Exactly. Yes. So in a way, it was the funny moment in the midst of this hell. And everything is funny, you know, us going down to the shelter with you wearing this beautiful shirt. You're now wearing a shirt that is pink and leopard and zebra. It's like, you're insane and it works, you know? So this is reality. This is reality.
I always look insane, but I think it works.
But it works. You look beautiful, so it looks good. It looks under control, okay? It looks calculated. So everything in this reality is the same. It's just, it doesn't make sense, but it works. So this was a moment like this. And I think that being a poet is being so used to catching these moments that you actually do catch them. So I wrote this poem instantly and it made me laugh. And when you laugh in front of your computer, when you're alone in the room, you are living the right life, despite the fact that you don't have a husband, you don't have love, you don't have sex, you don't have anyone to hug you, and you're completely desperate. But you're still laughing in front of your computer, so you win, you know? So this is the game of being a creative person. There would always be somebody to make me laugh.
I really, I love this so much. And it connects me to the final thing that I actually want to talk about. Because again, I think of Amazon as so fundamentally American, and that is that you have spent time in America. To my knowledge, you were at the very prestigious Iowa Writers Workshop, and I think there's a story to tell about that experience. Can you share it with us?
Sure. I was there prior to October the 7th, and I had a blast. It was so much fun. It was like being 16 again. Everybody was living together in the same hotel, and they all had time. That's like heaven, you know? Smart people, wonderful people.
With time.
With time? Could you imagine?
Barely.
Oh my God, this is heaven. We'd never have time when we have kids and we have jobs and like, oh, we all have so much time.
Now, was this a master's program?
It's an international, it's the Iowa International Program. They bring writers from all over the world. They lodge them in the same hotel and they expect them to write all day long, which of course what we do is socialize and have fun. And we had fun. We had fun and very curious fun. We learned about each other's countries. Apparently not enough because just now in the shelter we had this game of flags and I had no idea whose country's flags we were looking at. But we did listen to each other deeply and we had fun. We laughed a lot.
How long is the program?
The program is 3 months.
Okay.
And actually after 2 months, October the 7th happened and it changed the whole atmosphere. It exposed deep criticism towards Israel. And actually deep resentment towards Israel to the point that I had to leave the program. I felt that my own friends stopped talking to me. My best friend was from an Arab country. We hanged around like two Muppets for 2 months. We just walked around the campus laughing. And we stopped talking. And I felt guilty for my nationality, for being Jewish, for being an Israeli, and for being hated. And for being resented. Now, there is a difference. The resentment towards Israel, I myself resent part of what Israel has done throughout the years. I think that I would have done it completely different. I would have done it in a way that actually supports the two nations in here and not just one nation. So I was actually needing to represent a country which I didn't feel identified with. On the other hand, I couldn't stand in front of people that thought that I'm a colonialist and that should just evaporate. And that was there in the conversation, people saying Zionism is colonialism and colonialism should perish. And I just looked at them and said, do you mean I should perish? What do you mean? And they kept on arguing that yes, if the origin of Israel is sinful, Israel should not exist. And to this point, I couldn't identify, but it's not a political argument. The political argument was held, and I held it bravely, and they held it bravely. It also took bravery on their side, but I lost in the sense that I had to leave early because I just didn't have my friends, and I wanted to be with my children. And there was no point in having arguments with people that didn't know the facts to the deepest of it and that actually prejudged me. Some of them and part of the time, not all the time and not with all the facts and not with all the relevant material, but it was too hard to handle. And I just had to leave in the middle of it. And I felt a strong feeling of failure that I was sent there to represent my talent, my country, my share of happiness, to give it out, you know? And I failed. And I failed because it was just too hard for my psychic to handle people, like a whole group turning against me, a whole group of my own friends turning against me.
You know, when I look at the situation, I think that they failed. Do you think that now, or do you feel that you failed still?
I think we all fail. We all fail as human. We all fail to learn the facts to its depth and then to forget them, to ask, what is a possible solution besides the solutions which we've already proved to be wrong? And I think this is a joint failure. And I would love to be a world leader in years to come. But after I complete my work now, fighting for my own identity, I would love to help back both me, my community, their community, everything. But I first need to figure it out on a personal level. What do I do when I have nothing? What do I do? What do I have? What teaches me? What does it mean to have such a deep sense of insecurity that you're just floating in the air, waiting to be held by something that is not known to you? Once I figure this out, I will have more stability to see things that I don't see right now. I really think we need answers that are not now in the pools of answers that we have. I don't think the answer is the Israelis are right, the Palestinians are right, the Iraq people are right, the Iran people are right, the US is right. This is not an answer. This is just another belligerence and another act of war. I don't sign in for this. I'd love to get an answer that is deep and that is food. In the Gemara, there is a beautiful terminology called achila vada'it, which is after eating something, when you have this feeling that you're sure you ate, this is real food. Okay? I am looking for real food. Not the food of hatred, not the food of being right, not the food of being a victim, not the food of anything. Not also the food of fear, which I feel in all my bones right now.
Oh, fear, you said.
Yeah.
Fear, yeah.
I'm looking for a different sort of food. It's food that will actually calm my deepest spirit. And this is why when you entered my house, we were doing Ho'oponopono prayer, because the whole point is practicing calming down our inner child and calming down the inner child of our enemy and calming down the inner child of the people that hurt us. Just telling each other we're loved by something we don't understand. We're taken care of by something we don't understand. And the way we neglect this transcendent fact out of our life is a deep mistake. And I'm not a religious person. I couldn't care less about, Judaism in its orthodox form. I really think it's not relevant to my life. But I am asking for a greater force to show me in my, I'm kneeling now. I'm so broken. I'm one of the most broken people you've met. And I'm so broken. I'm so helpless. And I'm asking for an answer. And I'm asking for real food. And the real food will be known to my body. This is food. This is internal love. This is stability. And now I can give this to others. And you, spiritual, whatever, can give it to others and heal us from the inside out.
All right. I want to thank you so much for sitting with me. This has been a delightful conversation. I want to let people know that doesn't your name mean light?
Yeah, it does.
That's what you talk about, and I think that's what you have to offer at some point.
Thank you. Thank you for listening so deeply, and thank you for showing up in my house with this gorgeous shirt.
Don't forget the earrings.
And the gorgeous earrings.
Thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please rate, review, and subscribe to What Came After wherever you get your podcasts. You can also find us online at whatcameafter.com.
שוחה בין תחושות של עבר ועתיד חופשי וחלום מחר אסתפר אסדר שערי אכתוב את עצמי מחדש כשהסתיו מגיע הגוף עייף מתכסה מבולבל עירום חשוף לקור מול יוצרו מתבייש שוחה בין תחושות של עבר ועתיד חופשי וחלום. מחר אסתפר, אסדר סרט